Hello, class, and welcome to week 5. I truly hope that you all had an opportunity to rest, reflect, and enjoy some time with your families, as I did. Now it's time to move back into our schedule and continue pressing towards our goals this semester. Now, last week we had quite a few labs surrounding a kind of an introduction into Microsoft Excel, and I hope many of you found the labs challenging but fun and informative. We also had a great discussion about open source software, and I appreciated those that brought a good amount of research and experience into the discussion. I'll continue to be looking for that as our discussions progress. One of the things that I definitely noticed and wanted to bring forth, just kind of a consideration, kind of a thought with open source software, was that there tended to be consistent posts being posted regarding open source software as maybe not as security conscious, maybe a vulnerable, or there's a risk involved in open source software. And so one of the things that I also wanted to point out and just have a little bit of reflection on is what about the vulnerabilities on software that has been manufactured by vendors. I gave a perfect example with Microsoft. Microsoft has plenty of vulnerabilities, almost 0 day. There's some things that they're not aware of, or there are things that they're aware of and they just don't want to address it, or they want to wait and address it in the next version that they release. So in those type of instances, are we really any secure versus open source and versus another type of software that comes from another vendor? So I just kind of wanted to float those conversations out there and bounce those off of you. But as long as we all can go forward understanding that there is an associated level of risk with any type of software that we get, whether it's closed or open. Closed, of course, gives us a little bit more protection, but the bottom line is there can still be risk and there can still be vulnerabilities that have not been discovered yet. So we can't. So it's kind of difficult um, just to put open source software down and say that it's 100% more vulnerable than other softwares that are coming out. Now, in my particular experience with open source software, because I've used it both on a personal level and I've used it in the office, and considering that we're very tight and security conscious, we don't always get that freedom. But open source software can be a great resource, and one of the reasons is for us at least is because one, our network is closed, so there's no way that anything's getting in or getting out. Once we place that tool in its little area, it's stuck. Secondly, we can tailor it to meet our expectations even better. So we can take a $2 product and basically save the government $2 million versus buying, almost as I said, a license, or buying it through a vendor or having them tailor it to our needs. So one of the things that we look at and that we appreciate with open source software is that it does best when there's an immediate need that hasn't been addressed by a larger vendor or entity, or when there's a price that's kind of involved, and we have to take that price, benefit analysis. There's a need, but do we really want to pay the cost for it? So that's just another thing to consider. This week, we get further into utilizing Microsoft Excel, and the formulas can be a bit tricky at times, but they make a huge difference in your work, and they make a huge difference around the office and at home. For example, around the office, we're handling millions of dollars in purchasing, and often we have to come up with quotes and estimates on what it's going to take to get some things done. And the ability to place all my equipment and all my requirements in an Excel spreadsheet and then just run a quick sum calculation saves me a great deal of time. And especially if I can just go back and just delete a column out or delete a row out, and this automatically keeps my calculations accurate. That saves a great deal of time. At home, I don't know about you guys, but I track my finances through a budget and often foresee maybe months and years in advance, depending on what vacations or maybe major purchases that we're planning for. And this Excel product, it provides a way easier approach to tracking and calculating budgets. Uh, and then we have a discussion this week. The week five discussion today, or this week, is surrounding databases. And the uses and the types of databases have far continued to grow, especially with the implementation of the cloud and different backup types as they continue to kind of surface and hit the market. It's gotten way bigger than back when I was just trying to get a little Microsoft Access certification. So I listed below some of the different types of databases for you to review and just some resources attached if you wanted to have a look and just see some of the different types of databases. Additionally, I also dropped an attachment for the Excel formulas assistance. So if you have some trouble in the lab and maybe if you want to review the Excel formulas, certainly feel free to click on that link in the bottom and have a look. As always, let's make this week a great week back. I look forward to interacting with you in the databases and in the discussion forum. I'm sorry. And if you have any other questions, feel free to contact me. I am always around, and I look forward to seeing you all, well, interacting with you all soon. Alrighty, have a great week.